This is the Tamobyke T73 series electric bike, and I've been riding the AWD Pro Max model with the dual batteries. I put it through daily commuting, quick grocery runs, and a handful of off-road detours on packed dirt and sand. I also spent an afternoon on a friend's single-motor T73 Max, so I could compare how the line feels across tiers. The headline is simple. It's a power-first, comfort-second e-moped with serious speed and real torque. And it asks you to accept some weight and a few ergonomic compromises in return. Key features that stood out to me are the switchable dual/single motor setup on the Pro Max, the dual 48V battery system, hydraulic disc brakes, full suspension, and those 20x4 fat tires. The frame is carbon steel, which explains why the bike feels so planted and why it can handle heavier riders and even a passenger. But it also explains why it's a beast to lift. The spec sheet says around 110 pounds, and my scale agrees it's in that zone. It feels closer to a small moped than a typical bicycle when you're muscling it around a garage or pushing it up a ramp. If you need to carry a bike upstairs, this one will test you. From my experience, the Pro Max's dual-motor all-wheel drive means there's a motor in each wheel, and you can toggle between both motors or just the rear with a quick switch. In all-wheel drive mode, the surge off the line is no joke. I weigh about 185 pounds, and on flat pavement, I saw 37 miles per hour on the display, verified against a GPS app that showed 36 to 37 miles per hour. That's fast for anything with pedals, and it stayed stable thanks to the long wheelbase and the fat tires. In single motor mode, the bike still hustles past 30 miles per hour, but it sips less power and feels more relaxed. If you ride where there are steep hills, deep grass, or loose surfaces like sand or shallow snow, all-wheel drive helps you stay hooked up. If you're mostly on streets, single-motor mode is plenty and better for range. Tamobyke sells this as a series, so here's the quick lay of the land without getting lost in model names. There's a base T73 with a 1,000-watt motor and a single 48V battery. There's a mid-level single motor with 1,500 watts and 2 batteries for more range. Then there's the Pro Max I'm on with dual motors and 2 batteries, peaking at a claimed 3,000 watt combined. If you're torn, ask yourself 2 things. How steep are your hills? And do you want traction in loose stuff? If the answers are very and yes, the AWD makes sense. If you're on flatter ground and mostly pavement, the single motor 1,500 watts is more than enough punch. Let's talk range, because this is where the marketing and real life split paths. The company talks about up to 120 miles with pedal assist. In my opinion, that number is only achievable at very low speeds with light riders on flat routes. And even then, it feels optimistic. I ran 3 patterns. In mixed riding, using pedal assist but cruising fast because, well, it's fun, I got about 32 miles before the bike eased into limp home power. In throttle-only riding, steady urban speeds with a couple of hills, I hit 31 miles before the pack sag showed up and speed started to drop. A chill day in single-motor mode, keeping speeds in the 18 to 22 miles per hour range with me actually pedaling, got me to the mid-30s. That's with both batteries. So for how I ride, the real range is about 30 to 35 miles per charge. If you're disciplined with speed and you keep it in eco settings, you'll stretch that, but don't count on triple-digit miles unless your average speed is e-scooter slow. Here's a quick explanation for anyone new to e-bikes. The battery rating in amp hours is your fuel tank. This dual pack totals up to around 41.6 H at 48 volts on the top model, which is a lot of energy, but power output and speed drain it quickly. The bike uses a cadence sensor, which is basically an on-off signal that you're pedaling, not a torque sensor that measures how hard you pedal. That means pedaling on this bike is more like telling the motor to go rather than truly sharing the workload. On a heavy platform like this, that's why pedal assist and throttle-only range can end up pretty similar if you're moving fast. Comfort is where I started nitpicking. The stock seat is narrow and gets uncomfortable past the 20-minute mark. It looks cool, more like a cafe-style bench, but I swapped mine after a week for a wider saddle, and that made a huge difference. The rear shock is set up stiff from the factory. I get why. It's built to carry weight and not bottom out with a passenger. But on solo rides, it sends more chatter into your back than you'd expect from a full suspension bike. I backed down preload a bit and it helped, but it still leans firm. If you're sensitive to bumps and you ride on broken pavement, plan on tuning or upgrading that rear spring. Handling is stable, predictable, and forgiving. The big tires and the weight give it a planted feel in corners and across rough patches. It doesn't flick, it settles. That's perfect for gravel paths, grass, and sand washes. I ran the tires around 18 to 22 psi depending on terrain, and the bike felt sure-footed. Hydraulic brakes are the right call here. My levers are consistent, and stopping from 30 plus miles per hour doesn't feel sketchy. Heavy bikes eat pads quickly though. Mine started to glaze after a couple of hard weeks, and swapping in the extra pads the brand includes brought the bite back. I'd plan to check pad thickness regularly if you ride fast. Lighting is solid. The headlights large and bright enough for neighborhood night rides, and the reflectors keep you visible. The LCD is basic but clear, showing speed, battery bars, and trip info. The app is simple, good for ride logs and a few settings, but the bike itself is not a smart vehicle with fancy automation. That's fine by me. Fewer electronics mean fewer gremlins. The 7-speed Shimano drivetrain shifts cleanly and gives me the range I need to spin at 18 to 22 miles per hour. Beyond that, you're ghost pedaling a bit because the bike is doing the work. That's normal for moped-style e-bikes. Utility is a strong point. The long saddle and included passenger pegs work. I did several rides with a friend on the back at around a 300-plus combined weight, and the bike pulled without complaint. The steel frame doesn't flex, and the fat tires cushion the load. It's perfect for short two-person trips to a cafe, a beach run, or a quick grocery dash. The underframe storage bag is handy for tools and the included lock, and there are mounts for racks if you want to turn it into a little cargo hauler. I like that it ships mostly assembled with fenders, and mine arrived tuned well enough that I was riding within an hour. I did run into one hiccup that matters. My lower battery wouldn't take a charge out of the box. Support got back to me within a day, walked me through a couple of checks, and sent a replacement under the 1-year warranty. The second pack has been fine. I'm sharing that because while the bike has been stout overall, there can be QC misses, and you should test both batteries on day 1. In my case, the fix was straightforward, but it's worth factoring into your expectations. For anyone new to this category, speeds above 28 miles per hour are beyond typical Class 3 limits in many areas. That means you should learn your local rules and ride responsibly. I wear a full coverage helmet at these speeds and gloves because hydraulic brakes bite hard when you need them to. In my opinion, the real draw of the T73 series is power and versatility. It's perfect for riders who want a tough, moped-style e-bike that can handle mixed terrain, carry a passenger, and rock it up steep hills without breaking a sweat. From my experience, the trade-offs are weight, a stock seat that you'll likely replace, a firm rear shock, and range that's meaningful, but not what the marketing promises if you ride fast. If you want a lighter bicycle experience with long pedaling range, a torque sensor commuter with a smaller motor will treat you better. If you want the feel of an electric moped with pedals and you value acceleration and traction over nimble handling, this hits the vibe. I'd recommend this for urban and suburban riders with a safe parking spot on ground level, heavier riders who need a high load rating, folks who ride hills or loose surfaces, and anyone who wants to carry a friend on short hops. If you're picking within the line, the 1500-watt single motor with dual batteries is the sweet spot for most street use. Go Pro Max AWD if you ride steep grades, sand or snow, or if you just want the grin that comes with 2 motors. Go base model only if budget is tight and you don't need long range or big hills. In conclusion, the Tamobyke T73 series delivers on the promise of raw power and rugged build. It's stable, fast, and wildly capable off the line. It asks you to accept serious weight and to make a couple of comfort mods right away. I can live with that because the ride is addictive and the utility is real. If this matches your priorities, it's a fun platform to own, wrench on, and tailor to your life. Check the comments of this video for a link to see the current pricing of the Tamobyke T73 series electric bike for adults.